Welcome to the Dave Chang Show, part of the Ringer Podcast Network, presented by Major Domo Media. Thank you. Yola Tango, as always. I almost gave you the Dinner Time Live introduction. We're here at Kitchen 2, our studio here at the Row, downtown Los Angeles. I am really, really wired because I just drank all this cold brew and made some red-eye gravy, ate some ham steak, and we just spoke with Jack, the owner, proprietor of Endorffeine Coffee here down in Chinatown, downtown Los Angeles. And we've talked about coffee before. We're gonna get to this interview in a second. I gotta say, probably one of my favorite interviews we've done in a while. It certainly starts off maybe slower than you might be accustomed to. Jack is soft-spoken, but he's lived an extraordinary life, really, really interested in how he got into the coffee business to begin with. But I think he talks about a lot of things that, when I say the word admirable, I do, because I think he lives a life that I wish that I could live more of. And, making changes in my life as we go forward, because it's appreciating what you have, not what you don't have. And I think we'll talk more about that in the weeks and maybe years to come. Because I think I've definitely made quite a few shifts in my life since the pandemic started. But that's not why we're here today. I just wanted to say thanks to Jack. You should definitely visit his coffee shop, Endorffeine, and maybe look up some of the coffee that he uses and his philosophy, because I haven't quite found anything like that here in America. And I think he encompasses a lot of things that I genuinely, I don't know if I incorporate in my life. But I aspire to. This episode is presented by Vital Farms. Look, when it comes to cooking, I say it all the time. You're only as good as your ingredients. And that's why you've got to use Vital Farms. Their eggs are legit. The hens get to roam around outside, forage in grass, and feel the sunshine. And you can trace your eggs back to the farm they came from. Seriously, you can see an actual video of the actual farm where your eggs were laid on their website. Whether you're poaching eggs for breakfast or folding them into something like a souffle, reach for Vital Farms. You'll love the taste. Look for the black carton in the egg aisle and visit vitalfarms.com to learn more. This episode, we're going to talk about coffee, and he's here as a major domo, and not to bury the lead here, but he gives himself a fucking 7 on the major domo scale. That was a hell of a thing. But I wanted to just tell you a little bit about coffee and what it means to me. I never really drank coffee until Hugo was born, so 2019. I'm naturally pretty fucking wired person. To this day, people will know that I will drink energy drinks. I don't like Red Bull, I like Celsius or anything else that has caffeine in it, because sometimes I just need to be fucking wired. I love caffeine in that sense, and I don't drink coffee to be caffeinated. I drink coffee because I like the flavor of it, either as a pure drink, almost like a tea, black, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, because that's just who I am, something that's brewed in a terrible, bitter fashion, but served with lots of milk or cream and sugar. And that's what I grew up drinking. So I can appreciate both ends of the spectrum, just like I do in wine, just like I do in beer, or even food. I guess I'm a person of extremes. I'll show you how I grew up drinking coffee. It was this prepackaged stuff. And I mean, it tastes like nothing. It tastes like drinking a light beer. Also tastes really nostalgic to me. I would love to mix that coffee, those sugar crystals. And we couldn't find the shitty freeze-dried coffee. This is also its own version of shitty coffee. That's more of a blend that has creamer in it as well. But the first 10 years of my life really that's what I thought coffee was. I had no idea that it came from a bean, because all I knew was it came in these giant kettles already brewed. Then I remember my parents buying a Krups machine, that white thing, and I loved making coffee in the mornings for them. I love that smell. The only thing that smells better than this is a bag of weed. And I don't know, I found that to be my mom's favorite flavor of ice cream besides strawberry Haagen-Dazs was Haagen-Dazs coffee flavor, which is still tremendous. So it was a great surprise to me when, it sounds ridiculous, but I was shocked that coffee came like this. I didn't know that. Why the fuck would I know it was a coffee bean? And then I grind it up, and then sometimes my parents would buy the pre-ground stuff, but honestly, my favorite thing was to grind up the coffee beans and make coffee, and I'd make it terrible. It would always be, I'm sure, too strong. It didn't matter, because what my parents would do is, we have some of this shitty coffee, I think. This is drip brewed, and this looks like it's been in that pot for 3 days. But I know it's gonna be delicious, and it's gonna be delicious because of this. 2 scoops of sugar and cream. So Coffee Mate, original. Before the liquid stuff came out, it was usually powder. And I'm gonna put 2 of these suckers in there. Or, it's those McDonald's creamers. Those are delicious. And I used to sip on those things as a kid. And I can tell you right now that this doesn't have nearly as much creamer as it needs, because it needs to be milky like this. So I'm gonna maybe mix it up, add some hazelnut. And I swear, I gotta find something to do with these flavored coffee creamers, because they're fucking delicious. Make a cuvee. Look, I'm going. All right, it's a little bit less black tar heroin looking. Come on, that is so good. I can appreciate the best coffee in the world, and I've been lucky enough to have it in Japan and Europe and in Australia. But I feel that this is the same thing when I tell somebody I can like a commercially made piece of garbage pizza. It can be delicious. I can also like this, because this is how my parents came to America drinking coffee. And I'd also argue this is how most people drink their coffee in America, in Canada for sure. Tim Hortons, donut chain, double-double does not mean an animal style from In-N-Out. Double-double means 2 creams, 2 sugars. You ask any Canadian, that's what they think a double-double is. Dunkin' Donuts, Double D, people love their coffee. You know what? I think most people drink their Double D coffee, not black, with milk and sugar. Starbucks, most people aren't drinking it black. Besides Starbucks, again, we've talked about it in the previous pods with the team from Cometeer, which is another way to drink coffee, and this is still my favorite way. I understand the food coffee snobs out there still fucking may not enjoy this as much as I do, but fine. I never really understood too much about coffee as a savory item, and that's why you see these ham steaks here, and if you wait till the end of the podcast, you will see how I got these ham steaks there. It's 3 different red-eye gravies. One is just drippings, one is with flour and butter, and another one is based on something we made at Momofuku Sambar, which is an emulsion, more like a mayonnaise. And we're going to be joined with Jack from Endorffeine Coffee. I really like this interview because I think it gets a little bit more philosophical, life advice kind of stuff. Admire anybody that can be disciplined as he does. And as I do really admire so many things about Japanese culture, even though he's Thai American, pretty remarkable stuff and a lot to learn. I learned a lot. Hopefully you enjoyed my interview with Jack from Endorffeine Coffee. As you can see, we're getting caffeinated. Jack Benchakul from Endorffeine Coffee is joining us. His shop is down in Chinatown, not too far from here. And you've been there for a few years now, right?
Since 2015, so that would make it 10 years on Thursday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanted to start off, get you into how you got into coffee making, because I think it's a great story. But before that, where are we at in the coffee drinking world right now?
In terms of?
It's not where it was 10 years ago.
Correct.
And it was definitely not where it was 20 years ago. What wave are we in? Is it postmodern? Where are we at, like coffee? Because every time I think we are peak coffee, I don't think we've hit peak coffee. The goalpost keeps on getting moved.
Yeah, I mean, even with cold brew sales, they still continue to increase every year, at least in the States. I think they stopped giving a numerical number to whatever wave we're in now. 10 years ago, we were definitely third wave. Now, I don't know what to call it.
People still throw around third wave, and I'm like, it seems like we're like sixth wave or something now.
Especially when in places like Tokyo, they are doing coffee omakase, coffee tasting style of service that is exclusive to just coffee and with the absence of food. It's very coffee-centric. In the States, I don't think we're quite ready for that yet, even though we're inching towards it. But in order to get to that point, you really have to have ownership of the space. Overhead's more, labor costs are more, and I think we're still in the space where commodity coffee is still quite prevalent, and specialty is definitely sharing some of that space. We see Starbucks trying to inch in, I guess, having a little more of that market share.
Is that with our reserve space?
With the reserves, yeah.
What's the first wave of coffee?
The first wave would have been pre-World War II. And we go back to early 19th century in Europe when we were drinking coffee, and coffee houses were more of a point of a space where people could come together and share information, philosophy, talk politics, either also gathering news of either the town or the city. And then fast forward to World War II, it was more of, there was a lot of industrialization in the United States and more mass production of food. I think that's when we started to see instant coffee. And then even then, we weren't quite at the specialty phase. We were actually adding in, they were cutting in oats and other grains to sort of offset the cost of the coffee.
Chicory?
Chicory, yeah.
And what happened with the third wave early on? So that was when single origin, it's when people started to come back to really understand the provenance, the terroir of the beans.
Yes. Moving further away from commodity, and around the world, they started to covet it more. And countries of origin would have events that they would call Cup of Excellence. And that is sort of the Oscars of every country of origin, where the farmers would bring their most prized crops, their coffees, to be scored on a cupping table, and you would have experts judge and score the coffees blindly. It eventually got to a point where international tasters would come in as well. And it was around, I think it was 2004, Cup of Excellence in Panama. And that's when the Geisha variety was first discovered. And that really changed.
And what was that variety, for those that don't know?
Some people call it Geisha, some people call it Geisha. It's sort of an ethereal coffee. It's everything that I really enjoy in coffee. It's floral. There are really nice fruit tea notes in it. It's sweet. It's not as earthy or as grounded in taste as something that is more of a pink Bourbon or another type of varietal, which is standard, which you would have in most coffee shops. Geishas they're prized for like their tea-like expression, but also that they contain everything that's really delicate in a coffee notes.
Was Geisha coffee, it was always consumed, right? but only became popular later? Or that's the question I want to know is, a lot of these varietals, did they only get invented 25 years ago?
Most likely not. They were probably consumed beforehand, but it wasn't until an expat living with his family in Panama, and he decided to farm out there. And when he was, his name's Peterson. So the Peterson farm is still there, and Hacienda La Esmeralda is the name of the farm. They still produce some of the world's highest scoring coffees. But when Dr. Peterson was actually touring the farm, if I remember the story correctly, he found a coffee tree that didn't look like any of the others, but he liked the coffee that it was yielding in terms of flavor, what it was providing in the cup. And he was hesitant to actually submit that to the Cup of Excellence for judgment because he was afraid, he was concerned that they may have judged it as defective. But he submitted it. It was the highest scoring coffee that year. I think one AP reporter overheard someone say, I think I see the face of God in this cup. And so then that went viral, to be viral at that time. And it was from that moment on that everyone is sort of chasing this particular variety.
Because it was so different. You said tea. When I drink a geisha, taste it, don't feel like it's coffee at all.
Yeah.
I feel it's like a version of tea to some degree. It's a floral water, a steeped water. Not even tea doesn't even do it justice. It's something, how should I describe it? When I drink something like that, I know intuitively, this, you can't add anything to this. Sure. If I'm drinking a DRC wine or some huge Burgundy or Bordeaux, from Bordeaux, and I'm like, this is, you can taste things you can't taste in other wines. Don't screw with this.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's almost self-evident.
Like the British will add milk to their tea, but I think if it was like a high quality tea, you just wouldn't do that. It's the same for a geisha. There are Arabicas or Robusta coffee even that.
What's the difference between Arabica and Robusta?
So they're both species of coffee. It turns out that Arabica is actually born of Robusta, but Robusta tends to be hardier. It's more resistant to pests, but it doesn't taste very good. If you could imagine the worst expression of diner coffee, something that's been sitting there for hours and it's barely even a flowing liquid, Robusta expresses notes of like sometimes rubber, tar, asphalt. I mean, you almost need to add, it really is a vehicle for
milk and sugar.
Milk and sugar, yeah.
We'll get there in a second. So, don't know what wave we're in, but again, I feel that the goalposts continue to get moved because nobody wants to say we're in wave 25. How did you get into coffee? Because, I want to bear a lead, you have quite the interesting story of how you got there.
I was working in biotechnology for about 11 years. And
how your parents were so proud of you.
I think they still wanted me to be a doctor. So originally I was on the path to med school, but I knew that I didn't want to go through so much more schooling. So
were they doctors?
No, my mom's a registered nurse and my dad's a jeweler, retired now. But I had been on that path. Like I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
That's easy.
And but then I realized how much schooling that would take, and
How many years?
Oh gosh.
And plus residency?
Yeah.
We're talking, what, 12, 17 years maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still wanted to be the good Asian son. So I thought, well, okay, no offense to optometrists, but I thought, okay, I'll be an optometrist. I'll be an eye doctor. It's still a doctor.
You're talking shit about it. It's okay. And then, you know what? If we had an optometrist, guess who they're not going to talk shit about? Podiatrists. So we're all good.
And that seemed to appease my mom. But then I knew that I couldn't go through with it. I was prepping for it just like I was prepping for the MCATs. And while working...
Why couldn't you go through with it?
I think that if you're going to be someone's physician, regardless of the field, you need to give it more than 100%. And you can't half-ass it. Who wants their physician to be someone who chose their profession
for a paycheck?
Yeah. I couldn't do that to myself and or my patients. And so while I was working in an optometry office, during the pre-exam, I was making small talk with the patient, and she couldn't stop talking about her job in biotech. This was in San Francisco, and I'd never heard anyone talk about their job, their profession, the people they work with, the company culture. And at the end of it, we exchanged emails. I emailed her my resume, and that's when, I think 2 weeks later, I interviewed, and I remained at Genentech for 10 years after that. Yeah.
Researching, coming up with drugs?
No, I started on the manufacturing floor in the beginning, and then I worked my way up the ladder till eventually making scientist level, not at Genentech, but at Amgen down here in Thousand Oaks.
They're small companies.
Yeah. But it was towards the end of my tenure in the lab, I knew that I wasn't going to cure cancer or make this amazing Nobel Prize winning discovery. I knew I wasn't going to be the...
How much of it was knowing that you weren't going to make a difference? Because when people ask me, I worked in a desk job before I made the full plunge into cooking. And there were a few reasons as to why I wanted to make the choice that was definitely less traveled back then, in 99, 2000. Is because no matter how good I would be at a corporate job or any kind of job sitting at a desk, I knew that I would maybe make, at best, mid-tier in terms of quality of excellence, right? Not even about money. It was, even if I was passionate about it and good at it, there's other people that are just way better at it than I am. So not only do I not give a shit about it, there's no way that even if I did, I would be good at it. And I don't want to just do something where I'm going to be in the middle of the pack. Did you have this existential crisis at all? Or were you just sort of disillusioned in a different way?
No, the former, not the latter. I'm very competitive, but I'm competitive against myself. And
because you're saying like, oh, I wouldn't cure cancer. I mean, I parse those words out because some people might say that as a facetious joke. I feel like maybe that wasn't a joke for you.
It wasn't. At that point, I just felt like I was taking up space.
Because you genuinely want to make a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's amazing. Not that many people have that realization or the courage to do that.
It was harder to face my mom and tell her what I wanted to do next.
And what did you want to do next?
Because
it wasn't coffee right away.
No, it was food.
I know what that conversation's like a little bit.
Yeah. No, my moment was a piece of unagi, actually. And
where, when?
Oh God. Japantown, San Francisco. I don't remember the name of the restaurant.
But it was a piece of unagi.
Yeah.
And was it a high quality version of unagi?
No.
That's the thing. It's
It was,
usually not like the best of the best that makes you think about questioning your life existence.
well, because before that bite, I questioned sushi. I thought, oh, gosh, it's fish, it's raw fish, it's not. I was very ignorant about it, and I had judgments, but that bite changed everything. And it was that, I think that was my early 20s. And up until that point, food was just sustenance. But that moment made me, it was an epiphany, but also there was a lot of regret that followed that, because I realized for the first 22 years, I wasn't enjoying food. I wasn't open to this. And so I had to make up for lost time. So I ate everything. And to this day, regardless of what is put in front of me, if it's edible, I'll try it. I'll try anything at least once. It was that moment that I thought, okay, I want to go to, maybe I should go to culinary school.
One second there. Sometimes I have conversations with people like yourself, and not everybody's into food, but I think it's okay to not enjoy food when you're totally set on a different lifestyle. You don't have time to have other pleasures potentially. I'm sure you had other maybe hobbies, but it's a curated, manicured, heavily manicured list of what you can and cannot do. And I don't think it's a problem, because like I would love to collect more books or be into more music. I just can't, because it takes too much time. So, it's more out of sight, out of mind these days. But did you grow up in a household of food?
Oh, gosh. I was really hoping you were going to ask me that. So, not to throw my mom under the bus.
Oh, let's do it.
She's a wonderful woman, but she is the worst cook. And I think, I don't want to blame her for it, but I didn't detest food. I was just fine with it. It was something to cure hunger.
She's a nurse.
Yeah.
It's not your fault,
Yeah.
Mom.
I grew up on a lot of, Chef Boyardee cans and pizza rolls, and I was a latchkey kid. So that was a lot of my sustenance growing up. And I didn't question it. It was fine.
But most people in this world are in this form. They don't care. Of course they would rather eat good food, but it's not something that's a necessity. And I would say before social media and food became a thing, definitely majority of the people I knew fell in the camp of, well, yeah, steakhouse, that's great. I mean, that's the pinnacle. I'd rather just eat that and be done with it. To wax poetic, to talk about artistry, craftsmanship of food, it did not exist until relatively recently. So I think it's totally okay.
It is okay, but I think as human beings, we chase happiness, we also chase pleasure. And there were very few things at that time when I had that epiphany that really fulfilled that hunger for pleasure. I don't eat food, even now, I don't eat food to cure hunger. I generally have one meal a day. It's usually dinner. It's not to go off on a tangent, but like I can't eat while I'm working, simply because I have to go back to work if I break for food, and knowing that I have to return to work to provide service, it gives me anxiety, and I can't enjoy the food that I'm eating. So I would rather just save it till after work, which is what I do.
And going back, unagi, you're going to have this conversation with your mom, which I'm sure was unpleasant, but you do it. And where do you take your next step career-wise in cooking?
Went to a small cooking school in Tante Marie, and I think they've since closed. They're in San Francisco. I didn't want to go to I think it was the Cordon Bleu. Mm-hmm. I went to their open house, and it was...
No offense, Cordon Bleu, but I think you made the right move.
It was, as someone who was older than the students who were there with their parents, I knew what they were in for, and I just wasn't interested. So the smaller, more private Tante Marie actually was perfect. And I respected the pastry chef who was teaching. She was the pastry chef at Boulevard at the time.
Nancy Oaks.
Yeah. And so I thought I would open up a bakery. Not bread, because I respect bread makers too much. But I love cake, and I love sweets.
This is mid-aughts now.
This was 2006.
So we're also beginning, at least in the Bay Area, the beginning of bakery insanity.
Sure.
I mean, really started off around then with, I don't know how many bakeries that became well known.
And specialty coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like the ground zero for so much of this in America. You've got to be where other people are doing these things, and that's where you're at. So you're working at a bakery. Which bakery or patisserie?
I was staging at Miette. Yeah. I also had a short stage at Rubicon before they closed, with Nicole and Stuart.
Now it's State Bird.
Yeah. During one shift at Miette, they went on a coffee run, and they brought back. This was the Miette at the Ferry Building, and there was a coffee cart there.
Beginning of Blue Bottle.
It was, yeah.
Which people need to maybe know after it got bought out. This was it's like the indie darling.
Yes, yeah. They had quite a cult following in San Francisco, and rightly so. The coffee was, my first sip. That was really my first sip of
But
coffee.
I was told that your first sip was not yet your first sip because there was an event that happened before your first sip or something like that, right? Did someone slap your hand or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I was scolded because I was about to add cream. Like, I immediately reached for cream to add it, and my pastry chef, she said, "What are you doing? You don't even know what you're adjusting. So how can you just add cream?" I immediately thought, defensively in my head, well, I wasn't going to add sugar. But I took that sip, embarrassed, and took that sip. And she was right. It was so different from anything else I had before that. And I didn't know that coffee could taste like that.
And how many years are you working in kitchens before you make the switch to coffee?
No, those were just two short stages.
And then you decided, I got to do coffee full time.
I bought a machine for home. I went on online forums. So I was brewing at home and thinking it over in my head. And the plan itself was about 5 years.
So we joke around here, we have a major domo scale for anything that's a hobby. 9, 10 being your black belt expert level. I think you're somewhere probably close to a 9 or 10 on that scale. So I'm saying that. Maybe you give yourself a different number. But at this point, you've bought your own coffee machine. What number would you give yourself on a 10-point scale in terms of awareness, enthusiasm, expertise, knowledge?
Oh, no, a 1. Yeah. Even at that time, there's only so much open source information that you can gather, and it was the beginnings. So everyone had a theory. Everyone had different tastes. There wasn't that much equipment on the market. The rabbit hole was just starting to open. No, definitely a 1. Yeah.
But I'm assuming you were pretty tenacious in digging that hole.
Yeah, I bought...
What happened? What happened next after your first machine?
I bought the machine in Oakland, and then that's when I subsequently moved. My mom retired, so then I moved back down to LA and started working at Amgen. Still thinking about the coffee, working out the numbers. Was I ready to be poor?
And for those that don't know, Amgen is has been for many years one of the largest biotech firms in the world,
Yeah.
making a lot of drugs that you use.
Great company, doing wonderful things for humanity, which was really fulfilling something here, but I couldn't stop thinking about.
But you said ready to be poor now.
I was ready.
It's calling. Sacrificing a job, which is assuming a good pay, to basically not make anything.
It's not a choice, though, right? It always.
What do you mean by not a choice? Because I would rather people know this. No matter how many people career change, I feel like they still are like, wait, I didn't know. I didn't know what you're talking about. I didn't know it was like going to be like this. So do you think you could have done this if it wasn't a calling, or does it have to be a calling? Because I'm beginning to think more and more, if you don't have it as a calling, you shouldn't do this at all. And anything in the hospitality industry. If you have the choice, I should say. I had a choice, you had a choice to make that. There are many people in this business that have no choice, and it's what they do.
I've come to find that the right decision, if it is a choice, is the one that you know is going to make you stop being unhappy. And that's different for everyone.
But
right?
Please elaborate.
I was getting to the point where I knew I wasn't going to, at Amgen, I felt like my head was going to be hitting the ceiling soon. Every day I looked more and more towards my coffee breaks, where I would actually brew coffee in the office kitchen.
I'm sure you were popular because everybody wanted a cup of your coffee.
Everyone did, yeah. And especially at that time, whether it was a Chemex or whatever I was using, a lot of my colleagues, no one knew what I was doing. I was like, well, this is coffee, you know? And I really enjoyed making it for myself. I enjoyed the ritual, the process, the product, but also sharing it with anyone who was interested, even if they didn't want to taste it, but they were curious about how it all worked.
The rigorous sort of methodical nature of brewing coffee, because it is an exacting practice, had to sort of scratch an itch that you were comfortable with, right? Because of your wanting to be in neuroscience. I have no idea what it would mean to work at Amgen, but I can't imagine it's like cooking savory food.
It was satisfying an itch. And I think because of the lack of knowledge and information around it, especially scientifically, I wanted to know more. The science part, the chemistry, the physics, it's really an interesting thing, but in terms of repeatability, but the craft part of roasting coffee and brewing coffee, I think that craft space is something that I struggle with every day. And I'm someone who gets bored of things easily, which is why I can't believe I've been doing it
10 years.
This long, yeah. Because it's different every single time. And no joke, every week I learn something new. And even the field of coffee science at this point, they're still learning.
That's why I think you would never give yourself a 10. That's why you probably give yourself like a 7 or 8 on a 10-point scale.
I'm probably a 7 now.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want everyone that follows us to really marinate on that. That's what a master would say. But you when did you decide, okay, I'm gonna like go full blast, I gotta open up my own shop? What was going through your head as like, okay, I made the jump, now I gotta really make the jump?
So I was working for a few I started off at part-time at a small coffee shop in LA, and then after about a year or so there, then I moved to another coffee shop, and with the owner's help, he helped me design a coffee cart, and I purchased coffee making equipment, espresso machine, grinders, and we installed everything onto the cart. And the idea was that we would do residencies and pop-ups around the city. After about a year of popping up, we landed a residency inside of an ice cream shop in Chinatown.
Scoops.
It was during that period that I thought about finally working for myself and opening up our own spot, myself and my cousin.
And was your mom and your aunt or uncle from your cousin's side, were they freaking out? Like, what are you doing? Still?
Yeah.
What happened after you signed the lease? Did they think it was a joke anymore?
I think my mom still doesn't quite understand all of it. I always tell my guests that my mom loves me, but she doesn't love my coffee. And that's fine. You know, she drinks...
That's your title of your book.
She drinks instant coffee. She loves it. She loves creamer.
I want to get into all of this later. But your mom loves your Vadachi coffee. It's so funny. And you brew every cup of coffee yourself?
Yes.
You think maybe you would like someone else to do that?
No.
And you have no desire to make the business bigger? Or maybe I can buy my own plot of land and grow my own beans. Have a roasting facility that's on a larger scale.
No, I have enough. And then even in terms of
where did you get the discipline, right? Because I think it is discipline to meditate on the idea of appreciating what you have and being grateful for what you have. Because I'm cursed with the opposite of that. Because I'm also hyper competitive. To not only pluck all the lowest hanging fruit, but I'm going to pluck every motherfucking fruit that's at the top too. How do you just focus on that? Because you have a vibe, for lack of a better word, that you see in coffee shop owners in Japan, in Kyoto, right? I like the coffee shops in Kyoto way more than I do in Tokyo. That's just me. Maybe disagree, but I think the coffee may be better in Kyoto, in my opinion, because it's just on another weird level of Kyoto, and I feel like it matches well with that kind of coffee zen. That's why I'm like, where did you get that? Because I don't know many people are just born with that. Especially since you say you are a competitive individual.
You know, I've had disposable income before. It was a great job, wonderful benefits. I even satisfied I scratched an itch, and I had a sports car at one point, and I sold it within a year because I felt I looked ridiculous in it.
What kind of sports car?
It was a Corvette hardtop.
Yes! Yes! Sick. What color?
Pewter.
Wow.
It was light pewter. So it was almost champagne, silver.
Oh my, well done.
Yeah. But for me, getting rid of that car, not only did I look ridiculous, but that car was meant to be on a racetrack. It's meant to be driven. I think I love design, but it should also be functional. And having things just didn't, for me, they weren't being appreciated enough. So it didn't make sense for me to pursue those things.
Well, this mirrors exactly what you're saying about food, right? Food. If you're going to do it, you want to appreciate it for where you're at and be in that state of mind.
Yes.
So I think this is a very uniform philosophy that you have here. But how do you not get bored? Because, again, I think without answering my own question, you said, I still have so much to learn. Because I have this question with a lot of my chef friends where we will have a mutual conversation where it's like, I want to open up another restaurant, or I want to do this, and I want to do a CP job, and I tell them. And I'm always like, or they'll say like, why are you doing more? I have another group of friends like, why? Just think about all you could accomplish if you just had like a 20-seat restaurant. I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm okay with not wanting that. It's not supposed to be for everybody. But I really envy someone like yourself that could just be, I'm fucking razor focused on what I'm doing right in front of me. It is a Buddhist-like mentality that I find extremely admirable.
Well, you know the concept of Kaizen.
Yes.
So-
Every day a little better.
Yeah.
But Tansei as well. People talk about Kaizen, which is what? To an audience may not be familiar, a Japanese principle.
Basically, continuous improvement. Always, I mean, perfection is a funny word, but it's incorrect. I'm not chasing perfection. I'm trying to improve with every shot, with every brew, even movements at the shop. I try to be more efficient I think about where my hand is moving, where my shoulder is placed.
But you're not Japanese.
No,
You are basically espousing everything Japanese in terms of everything you're doing. It's just very cool.
it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Hansei is an important thing, which is the reflection. You don't know exactly what to improve unless you spend the equal amount of time reflecting upon what you may not have done properly. Mostly white people that tend to talk about Kaizen, only talk about Kaizen. I'm like, oh, you're fucking it up. You got to do the reflection part too. So yeah, it's not like I've studied. I'm just, again, I don't know you at all until we met for the first time today, and I'm like, wow, you are living a life that I wish I could do. Because I think you clearly seem like a very happy individual.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, listen, happiness is bullshit, but in the sense that it's not this Hollywood movie version, but content is a better word.
Yes.
You did it, man.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that makes me think of something a friend of mine asked me once. If you were on your deathbed, would you be happy about, content with the way things have gone, that you've accomplished everything that you wanted to, et cetera, et cetera? And he asked me that in my early 20s. And it was, at that point in time, the answer was no. But since that time, and it's not every moment that I live to the fullest. It's more of, I try to think of the big picture, and I'd say that yes, if I had to meet my maker, then I'm very content at the way things have gone. I want to do more. I want to keep going, but
I feel that what you're keeping going is being better at what you do.
yes.
And that's how you get to Shokunin level mastery, right? That's how you become a national living treasure in Japan. And you're like, wait, it's just every piece of movement that you do in whether you're a ceramicist or a sushi chef or whatever, it's just like, wait, what? How did you get over there and do this and all that in one fell swoop, right? Again, that's craftsmanship and artistry and beauty in that. So I can't wait to visit your coffee shop in person. And we haven't really talked about coffee at all because reading about your life, I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? Because you just said it, the 10-year mark, it's a lot. And I was like, wait, did I read that right? He's still making every fucking cup of coffee? You're working with your cousin? I was like, something's going on here. And I just had to talk to you about it because it's crazy in a good way. You know, I'm the individual, if I were you, I'd probably have, I gotta open up the 80th fucking coffee shop now and challenge myself. How do I get everyone to care about it as much as I do? It's okay to feel that way, but it's also just from the other side. It's pretty cool that you have this focus and content of where you're at.
Well, we're all different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many seats in your coffee shop?
5.
You're going in and you're sitting down and you are having a coffee experience.
Well, we do takeaway too.
Are you serving food?
There's no food.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, I could see an investor be like, well, you gotta put the ham and cheese sandwich on. You gotta put the onigiri on or whatever. Well, why do you say no to that? You could easily do it, make more people happy. I think there's something truly remarkable in whatever you're about to say.
But then I wouldn't be as happy.
What? Explain that for the layperson here.
I think in LA at least, it's easier to get fixated on, in a coffee shop, the croissant that you're buying or the cardamom bun, I love cardamom buns, than the coffee itself. And then even with that, it's, you're leaving the pairing of the two up to the guest.
In a different world, I can share this sentiment that I think runs parallel. I'm not in the day-to-day restaurants really, but I never wanted a beautiful restaurant in the traditional sense. And I never really wanted great service. I wanted efficient, effective service. It's why, in general, I admire when I'm at a great Cantonese restaurant, the service at that restaurant, because it's brutally efficient. I love it. And I think that it doesn't get enough praise because when you compare it to a Western format, it doesn't look the same, but it's a completely different game. What I mean by that too is I want the food to be the holy fuck moment for a guest. And if the holy fuck moment is 33% food, 33% service, and 33% decor, that might be fun for other people. That's not my jam. I want to pass that needle the hardest way fucking possible. I don't know if that makes sense to the listener, but I think you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You want a challenge.
I mean, that's another reason why, in terms of flow, like the shop is not designed for efficiency.
What do you mean by that?
Most coffee shops will have, when you place your order at the POS station,
Point of sale system.
and then you walk down the line, walk down the counter to go pick up your drink. That's generally how most coffee shops in America are designed, for efficiency. And you can maximize your space in terms of seating, et cetera. But ours it's a U-shaped design, and when you walk in through the door, you walk off to one corner of the U on the front edge, and that's where you place your order. But if you have to back out to go out the door again, if a second guest is standing there, they have to move. It's intentionally made, the space is intentionally designed to make guests, this is going on video, to make guests a little uncomfortable.
I love it!
And so, because
you're preaching to the choir here. I love this shit.
when you're uncomfortable as a guest, there's growth that happens because you have to change. And also, you forget about what preconceived notions of a coffee bar, coffee shop are in the US because you're uncomfortable. So you're just thinking about your slight discomfort, but then also the space itself. And then in doing so, you're also thinking about the menu that's in front of you and not the menu that you normally expect in a regular coffee shop.
Do you mind if I interrupt you? Because I think this is an extremely salient point, at least for me, maybe for the audience, listening, watching. And maybe I'm asking myself, and maybe I challenge you, maybe we should not use the word discomfort. Because I use it all the time. Pain, I use the word fucking pain. You know? But upon reflection over these years, when I say, I was like, I don't want the customer to feel pain.
Sure.
I want them to know that everything's intentional.
Yes.
And I think maybe that might be the better word.
That's probably
choice,
a better word.
right?
I want them to
don't-
be challenged.
I want you to feel a certain way, think a certain thing while you're in my space. And when you leave, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Sure.
But this is where I think this is a conversation of artistry and craftsmanship.
Because it's your expression.
100%. You know? And I just feel like maybe you can do that at scale as well. That's just my cup of coffee, I should say. Right? So that's why I just didn't want to make too many assumptions here. But I was like, oh, I think I see what you're trying to do with your coffee shop. I think it's super important. Also doesn't mean that you don't want to sell as much as humanly fucking possible. But it's got to be done in a way that is respectful to your philosophy, to the farmers and the artisans and everybody. I mean, I have no doubt that all of your ceramics or whatever it is to drink coffee from,
Glassware.
it's painstakingly chosen.
Yeah. There's intentionality there for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting back to the use of discomfort, I think it's more of I'm just trying to get the guests to surrender themselves in the way that's most comfortable for them. Yeah, we don't. You can't win over everyone, like my mom, and that's fine.
My mom loves me. She hates my coffee.
And that's fine. Yeah.
So what's next? Do you think you could do this in this fashion, or does it evolve into something else? Can you see yourself living another lifestyle, operating a store in a different way?
Not at this time. There's an end game that I see, or that I've been planning for. Eventually, I'll retire to Bangkok, and my parents are Thai. And I'll be able to execute exactly what I want to do with the coffee bar with absolutely no compromises. But that's...
You don't have to share that end game.
That's a little further out, but yeah, but we've been working on it.
And going back to Japan, it's so many of the best restaurants in Japan, I think, are some of the best restaurants anywhere in the world, and you will never, ever hear about them. You will never even know they exist because they don't want you to know.
They want certain people to know.
Yeah, certain people, but it's also, I marvel at the ability to try to do your best. It's almost your full-time job is to not be busy with people. You're like, wait, I swear to God, the sushi had 6 seats in it last time I was here. What the fuck? No, we got rid of a seat. Like, what? What? We want to get rid of one more if we can. Hopefully people can sort of understand what's like. In America, most people will be like, how do we get more money so maybe work less or open up another restaurant? At the highest level, it's the restaurants I really admire. Their job is, how do we work more so we can do less, serve less people, so the people that we are serving get the most quality humanly possible. And it's like such a foreign concept. But it certainly seems like that's your path, and I fucking admire it wholeheartedly.
Well, my cousin and I, we joke about only opening on Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays for industry and then Tuesdays for everyone else. But that wouldn't be enough to pay the bills.
But I'm sure you've done the math to figure out what would be the bare minimum to pay the bills.
Sure.
That's amazing.
Sure, but then also we don't want to be gatekeepers of...
Well, that's why you're on this podcast right now. There's nothing gatekeeping. You think we can change this? I mean, really, it is a democratic capitalist mindset in America that runs completely opposite of whatever the fuck happens in Japan, where you're just like, I don't know how you guys stay in business, but it's amazing that you do, right? Like, when I worked for this soba, the only job I ever was fired from, I was like, we're doing 8 covers today? 8 people? That's all day? What? How? Lunch and dinner? What? And you could easily fill more seats, but you don't want to because that's for whatever reason. And it just never stopped fucking with me in the head where that's just how they want it, right? And they could change and cut corners here or there. It's just not what they do. So I've always marveled at it. But the question then is, how do we bring that approach to America?
It has to shift in culture. I think the US is a food media culture, and I like to think that the rest of the world has food culture. there's an admiration, I think, for the craft globally, but the way we approach it culturally is different. And until that shift can happen, I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime, that's when you'll start to see it, I think, appreciated in a different way.
I'm sure this is extremely overly reductive, but it wouldn't be food media if we didn't. Where's the best coffee culture in the world? Because this can get in big debates.
My favorite coffee shop on the planet is in Tokyo. It's Coffee Mameya, not the second location, the original location. There's, I don't know if you've ever been, but there's no seats. The bar extends from wall to wall. You take a few steps from the door and you're at the bar. And there's only 2 baristas, and they will take as much time with you as needed to guide you through the menu, which is just espresso pour over and now cold brew. There's no milk or sugar, but you can choose from an array of different roast profiles, so light, medium, dark. And it's one of the most pristine, beautiful coffee experiences I've ever had. And when I was there in, I think that was 2006, I went there as much as I could on that trip. I was in Tokyo for only 7 days, but I went there 3 or 4 times. And it's in a residential neighborhood in Shibuya. And when we were walking up the first time, you wouldn't know where it was because all the houses they're just homes. And I saw some other expats that looked as confused as I was. But we all, converged on this one spot, and it's as perfect, I think, as a coffee experience can get.
So I've thought about this as well because I'm not a coffee person in the traditional sense. Probably have more in common with your mom in terms of coffee she likes to drink. But I think there's something about what you're talking about in terms of the coffee experience. It doesn't mean that other cultures, in fact, all those barista championships, if that matters, they come from all the other countries as well. But I think there's something about the coffee experience when it needs to be tranquil, sublime, and simple that the Japanese culture mimics better than any other culture, marries better than any other culture, right? Like, I just can't have that experience anywhere else, and it feels right. So that's why I'm not saying Japan does it better. I just feel like the zeitgeist is better for that kind of coffee drinking.
For me, it is.
Yeah. That's what I would agree too. I'm not trying to, I don't think it's bad anywhere else, but time and place has its advantages for sure.
Yeah.
So now getting back to milk and sugar coffee, and we'll get you out of here on that. There's something about drinking milk or cream and sugar in coffee that to me is childlike, right? There's something that's delicious about it. I think we have an extremely shitty pot of like Starbucks coffee, because it's fucking garbage. But I like garbage too. I think some of my best ideas come from hot fucking trash. And then I'm now at a place now where I want to enjoy things that are just delicious, even if it is garbage, right? Like, I can now, without worrying about somebody trying to cancel me because I say I like a fucking Big Mac hamburger, right? Doesn't mean I endorse anything about its practices or whatever. It's just like, is it just good? Yeah. It's fucking tasty to me. Just like I like a Pizza Hut Supreme Pizza, pan pizza. It's delicious. Doesn't mean I don't like the very best, but I can get arguments with pizza snobs that say, that's fucking idiotic. I'm like, okay. But I also think what you're saying is dangerous too. What do you think about coffee culture that thumbs its nose at really poorly made coffee, made to taste not coffee at all, because it's now just emulsification of dairy and sugar and bitterness?
Every month on our Instagram, we do a roundup at the end of the month of all the coffee shops that we visited throughout whatever city we're in.
And what Instagram handle is it?
Endorffeine. I want to say since we've started, every month includes a visit to a chain. It's either Starbucks or Pete's or what have you. And it's not because we're trying to pander to my mom's demographic. It's more of, I sincerely think that at all levels of this game, whatever you're eating or drinking, it's still food. And there's still something comforting, nostalgic, delicious about the occasional Frappuccino. You know, I think things are wonderful and they can be ethereal, but then things can be a little more, you know, quote unquote lowbrow and still satisfy this desire for, it's still coffee, you know. I drive a Kia, and I don't think that there's anything necessarily worse about a Kia than, say, I don't know, a Lamborghini. They're two different things. And I think they both can be enjoyable. I've never driven a Lamborghini, but I would imagine so.
But you have a Corvette, though.
But I think that there's something to be learned and enjoyed from all levels of it. Yeah.
Long story cut short, we put this on at Sambar, and when you make a dish, it doesn't sometimes make sense, and you feel nauseous when you put something out there in the world that is based on nostalgia to some degree, particularly in New York City, where I'm importing now country hams from Tennessee and Kentucky and a lost American art. And I'm now serving it with, serving it like a prosciutto or a Serrano ham or something like that, thin on a slicer. And I'm not serving with some European sauce or a condiment or butter. I want to serve it with who I am. I want to serve it with a coffee flavored sauce. And traditionally you serve that ham steak with eggs or a side of eggs. So why don't I just put it all together and make a emulsification? So I'm going to serve the ham steak, which is what it is, right here. I mean, this is prosciutto, it's not ham, but it gives you the idea of it. And this is what I mean searching trash. Like, I tried to make this traditional. Like, you deglaze a pan, you know, you can sometimes make it with flour and make it almost like a real gravy. You can just deglaze it like a dripping, and it just didn't work. And then I was like, I don't even know, maybe I was smoking too much pot again. Like, I just like, why don't we just turn it all into one thing and make it an emulsification? But didn't work because I couldn't get the reduction, the distillation. If I reduced the coffee too much, it actually became overly bitter and acrid. So I couldn't get the right thing. That was way before concentrate actually happened. So I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna use the coffee that people make fun of. I'm gonna make it with instant coffee because it's gotten almost zero moisture and it's perfect flavor. And that's what this is. So I'd love for you to taste that.
Is there mustard in there?
A little bit. I added that, usually doesn't have mustard. Main reason is I broke the emulsification earlier and I needed to quickly put it together, but that's how mistakes happen and sometimes it works. A little bit of mustard.
Did you add anything in there to sweeten it?
Sugar.
Just white sugar?
Yep. You use brown sugar, you use anything.
Egg yolks?
Cooked, because you want to take some of that rawness out.
Sure.
And to me, it doesn't make any sense as to why that would taste balanced, but in my opinion, I think it is quite a balanced flavor, especially if you eat it with some bread.
I would add a little more coffee.
There you go. Here it was. You easily add more.
That's good though.
Anyway, I'm grateful, Jack, that you came. Thank you for your coffee. Where can they find you?
We're in
Chinatown?
Chinatown. Yeah.
What's the exact location?
727 North Broadway.
Where do they find parking?
There is an underground parking lot, but plenty of street parking too. Yeah.
And social media handles is at
Endorffeine.
How do you spell that?
ENDORFFEINE. So a little bit of endorphin, a little bit of caffeine. Endorffeine.
Awesome. Anything else?
No, it's been a pleasure.
See, that wasn't bad. Earlier in the pod, I mentioned a red-eye gravy that we served at Sambar, and I'm going to make that in a second. But I also mentioned how that idea for red-eye gravy came on a golf tournament trip that I took with my dad, and we were like south of Richmond, Virginia, and we went into a local diner. It was like dinner, but I don't know why I ordered ham steak because I've never seen that before. They served with red-eye gravy. We're in California, very far from the South. This is not a ham steak. This is just processed ham that's, you know a ham steak when you see it because there's literally, the ham comes from the leg of the bone, of the leg, and you can see the femur bone right here with the marrow in there. So for those that don't know, cured ham, I mean, I don't know if we would be around if we didn't have ham or salt cod and things like that. Dave Arnold, the great Dave Arnold, when he was at the FCI, he made a food exhibit for the Museum of Food and Drink, and he has a hypothesis that there's a latitude and longitude around the world. I've talked about this a bunch. That's maybe like 50 miles in diameter, and it goes around the world, and all the great hams of the world are made in that ham belt, from China to Parma to Iowa to Tennessee and Kentucky. And basically it just proves that left to our own devices, eventually we're all going to make the same kind of delicious things because there's pig everywhere, and if you live in a place long enough, you're going to find that the environment and the terroir produces a delicious kind of salted cured ham. So cured ham in general, it originally is very different than the ham that we use today, that you might get at the supermarket, that you might get in a sandwich. It's the same thing, but it's not the same. And it has more to do with what looks like a Serrano ham prosciutto or a jamon iberico. A lot of those families, producers, a couple hundred years ago, left Europe and they came to the Mid-Atlantic or the South, Iowa or Kentucky, mainly Kentucky and Tennessee, and they started to bring a lot of those family traditions and started to cure ham, salted hams, in the same fashion. And I feel very proud of the fact that Dave Arnold, again, influential in making us find connections with a lot of these farms, the Mahaffey family from Colonel Newsom's and the great Alan Benton and so on and so forth. And we were able to showcase them at Sambar. But before I showcase you a red-eye gravy, I wanted to tell you about this. That's one of the first times, the first time I saw how coffee could be used in other ways. So, yes, it's technically ham, but it's not a ham steak. And again, it doesn't have to be a ham steak. You can use pork chop. I actually wanted to see what a ham steak looks like here in Southern California. And I should have realized it's just going to look like deli ham. This is basically unsliced deli ham, but it'll do the trick. But if you've never seen a real ham steak before in the South, it's salty, it's crispy, it's awesome. And it will make all the sense when you have that griddled with a red-eye gravy. And again, red-eye gravy traditionally is deglazed pan. So what's being deglazed in a pan is the fons and the souks and the caramelization and the sugars and whatever is juicy being caramelized. And then we're going to deglaze that. Maybe you might deglaze that in a traditional French sauce with white wine or chicken stock. Here we're going to use coffee. And this was the first time that I ever had coffee, really in a savory fashion. And I, as I mentioned, didn't really drink coffee until much later in life. Usually when we made this at Sambar, we were using slow poached eggs. So I'm just gonna lightly boil these just to take the chill off the eggs. When I worked for Andrew Carmelini at Café Beloud, some of the best salad dressings ever made. One of the tricks he would use, and I've widely copied since, is he would lightly soft boil eggs, take a lot of that rawness out, that flavor that you might be able to take in a very light vinaigrette, and cooking it just mellows it out a little bit. Also helps with emulsification. So if you were doing pork chops, maybe I'd lightly flour the pork chops, sear them in the oil, put them in the oven. When I take them back out, as the pork chop is resting, then I would deglaze. So deglazing again is taking all of the delicious bits out of the meat, the caramelized sugars, the amino acids, etc., and then add some kind of stock. In this case, we're going to add coffee. But before I add the coffee, excuse me, I'm going to add a little bit more fat, some flour, and then add in my coffee. So I added a knob of butter, maybe like a tablespoon. Added maybe 3/4 of a tablespoon of flour, and I'm making a roux, and this coffee looks terrible. The reason why red eye gravy works at all is it's extremely bitter. And when you have a real Southern style ham steak, it's extremely salty. So that balances out. And somehow, by the grace of God, it works out. And I've never forgot that combination. To be honest, I've had red eye gravy where they don't emulsify it, they don't make a roux, they just take a little bit of coffee, deglaze in a pan, and it's almost like a French dip jus, right? They just take pan drippings and they pour it over. Again, I don't know if this is how you're supposed to have it, but I remember there being a hint of hot sauce Tabasco in that pan dripping. So that was the first red eye gravy I ever had. It was like red eye pan dripping. And I've seen this more as an emulsified, like flour-based gravy as well. And that would be it. This with eggs, hash browns, hard to beat. If you haven't made red eye gravy, if you haven't tried it before, it's certainly an American South type of thing. It's certainly not the origins or the beginning of coffee as a savory item, but that is red eye gravy, one version of red eye gravy, and I'm gonna make a new one right now. I wanted to show you how, like another version, what looked like the first version of red eye gravy I had was. I remember seeing behind the counter, the short order cook just putting some Tabasco sauce in the pan. It comes, the gravy comes on a side of, like those, what you might get at Waffle House with the syrup in a metal thing. And I just remember, I was like, what do I do with this, Dad? What the fuck is this? And that was it. This is also a version of red eye gravy. One that isn't thick at all. For that one, I just grilled the ham steak. Again, it could have been pork chop, could have been pork belly. Took it out, deglazed the pan with coffee, added some hot sauce. That's pretty much it. I didn't really add salt to it because I was ham profiling this ham steak, thinking that wasn't really going to be salty. It's actually quite salty. And I wanted to show you my version of red eye gravy that we developed, that I talked about at the beginning of the podcast at Sambar. This is a soft-boiled egg, really, really lightly poached. Still eggy, but most of the rawness of the egg is out. As I mentioned earlier in the pod, my first memories were not of a beautiful roasted coffee that's poured tableside by my parents. It was any kind of frozen coffee, Folgers, if I believe, or something like that. Yep, that's coffee. And the reason why I like this idea is if I'm making an emulsification, which is what our version of red eye gravy was at Sambar, because we're serving with sliced country ham. So in my mind, even though it looked different, the flavors were all the same. So oftentimes if you eat a ham steak with red eye gravy, you're eating with eggs. I like my eggs over easy, super runny. So having a red eye gravy that's technically a mayo may seem a little weird, but you eat it all the time. It's just in a different form now. The original recipe here was with sherry vinegar. So in here I put one soft-boiled egg, really lightly soft-boiled. I'm gonna put some sugar in here. And I'll probably put half a teaspoon of freeze-dried coffee. I wanna use grapeseed oil. It's probably 1/3 of a cup.
And is that because it's neutral?
Yeah. It is because it's neutral. This is not it. I'm gonna make it by hand. This is not fucking working. So again, 70-30 fat. I haven't added this in a while. It's still pretty good. It's basically a vinaigrette. And you have a really wonderful, quick, interesting red-eye gravy. It's based on coffee. It's an innovative way. Maybe next time you have friends over, you can serve this. I can guarantee you it is a magical pairing. People very much enjoy it. And it may seem totally wacky out of the wall, but if you look at all the ingredients that goes into this, it's the same thing if you eat this with some eggs, which most people probably do eat. So, you know. Perfect. Perfect pair. Those are my red-eye gravy, ham, coffee recipe. Check it out. That will be on YouTube, or you're watching this already on Spotify. Give us 5 stars. Keep on sending those questions into askdave at Majordome Media. We got Dinner Time Live. We got Amazon coming up for Thursday Night Football. A few other things coming up. It's quite a busy time, but we are almost ready to move into this studio permanently, properly, and a lot more in store for the podcast. So if you haven't noticed, we're still tweaking things. We're gonna do all the cooking at the end of the podcast. And if you're going back in time and watching this out of order, we're gonna start off by sort of just showing you this, and I'm gonna give you the podcast after that. Thanks, guys.